Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I thank he and the ranking, Mr. Thompson, and the ranking member, Mr. Levin, and members of the committee for bringing clarity to this debate today. Mr. Speaker, Democrats have always believed that innovation is what keeps America number one. I think that that is a view that is shared by all of us in the Congress. Our commitment on our side of the aisle, I know, is to science, to research and development that creates jobs, launches entire new industries, and gives them miraculous power to cure. For Americans to continue to lead in the 21st century, for us to meet the challenges of our time, for us to secure a strong and sustainable future for America's families and the next generation, we must commit to fueling the engines of innovation. When President Kennedy challenged Americans to reach for the moon, he reminded us that America must lead in innovation. The vows of this nation, he said, can only be fulfilled if we are first, and therefore we intend to be first. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort. However, according to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, in these days, the United States has dropped to 10th place in national R&D investment as a percentage of GDP. As their report makes clear, unless basic research becomes a higher government priority than it has been in recent decades, the potential for fundamental scientific breakthroughs and future technological advances will be severely constrained. Instead of meeting this urgent need and challenge, Republicans are coming to this floor of this House today with not one, but two bills that do violence to that aspiration. First of all, we have the Republican R&D, so-called R&D bill, a completely unpaid and deficit-exploding tax extension. Democrats support R&D tax credit. In fact, I'll talk about it when I get to the second bill. We support it, and we will be offering a motion to recommit for a 2-year extension to give Congress, Democrats and Republicans, time to work together to pass comprehensive tax reform that closes loopholes and pays for making this tax credit permanent. But this bill alone, with this bill alone, Republicans will explode the deficit by $182 billion. This is just a part of a larger package of permanent, completely unpaid for Republican tax measures this year that will add almost $600 billion to the deficit. Over $500 billion added to the deficit, including this bill, their bill to hand $269 billion to the 5,400 richest families in America. 5,400 families in their estate tax bill would be getting the benefit of $269 billion paid for by the middle class in our country, depriving us of investments in our children's future. The fact is that House Republicans have spent this entire Congress blowing up the deficit with unpaid-for tax giveaways overwhelmingly tilted toward wealthy special interest. It's worth noting that this bill, my colleagues, hear this bill on the floor has nothing to do with enterprising startups that are unable to claim the R&D tax credit. So some of you have said to me, I have all these startups in my district. By and large, they cannot benefit from this bill the way it is written. We would like to have written our motion to recommit to go further to do that. The parliamentarians say, because you prevented in your base bill, we can't go further. On this same day, and this is what's really stunning in the look of it all, on the same day as you are saying, we're going to do a gotcha bill on R&D and challenge you all who support R&D not to vote for our approach. On the very same day, lest anybody think that this is an overwhelming interest in R&D on the Republican side of the aisle, Republicans are bringing to the floor a Competes Act that completely undermines everything to do with science and innovation in our country. It completely upsets our innovation agenda. In the 110th Congress, we put forth the innovation agenda, a totally nonpartisanly developed bill. Anna Eshoo, Zoe Lofgren, George Miller took the lead, going across the country, getting input, nonpartisan input, academic input, venture capital input, technological input into an innovation agenda. And that innovation agenda really calls for making permanent and modernizing the R&D tax credit. We see the relationship between science, technology, innovation, and progress to keep America number one with R&D tax credits, but not done this way as we do on the floor. This is a trap in order to keep us from investing in innovation agenda. And that was something that Bart Gordon, as chair of the Science and Technology Committee, fought for and achieved. ARPA-E, you know that, to name one thing. But instead, today, the Republicans are bringing a bill that totally does violence to all of this. I hope members will listen to and support the alternative presented by Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, our ranking member on the committee. But anyway, in the original Competes Act by the Democratic Congress, supported by an overwhelming number of Republicans, a majority of the Republicans defied their leadership and voted for the Competes Act in the 110th Congress. And that original bill passed in a bipartisan way. We laid the foundation for new industries that provide jobs for our workers, that open new markets for American products, that ensure that we continue to rise above the gathering storm. Norm Augustine and others led the way to show what the gathering storm was unless we made those investments in science and technology. And as I said, we created ARPA-E, so important. This Republican bill betrays everything that the Competes Act did. The Republican bill betrays everything that the Competes Act did. It is an assault on science and a plan to surrender American leadership on innovation. Instead of investing in research and development, their bill slashes funding for essential initiatives at the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, the Office of Science and Technology Policy, the Department of Energy Research. It cuts energy efficiency and renewable energy R&D by $496 million. It's a huge, a $500 million cut, nearly 30% below what was appropriated last year. Cuts ARPA-E by $140 million, 50% below the level in the energy and water appropriations bill passed last week. Most insidiously, Republicans are attacking science they don't even want to hear. Just because you don't want to hear it doesn't mean it isn't true. In this Competes bill that they are presenting, they're trying to silence the climate, environmental, and social science they have consistently tried to ignore. The Republican bill goes so far as to forbid federal agencies such as EPA and FERC from using any research funded or developed by DOE, a brazen attempt to divorce their decisions from scientific inquiry. So, again, the very idea that on this floor today they come out of this masquerade of R&D tax credits, $182 billion added to the deficit, with the impression that they care about R&D into what? R&D into nothing that is about innovation to keep America number one. These Republican bills represent, this is a perfect manifestation of Republican trickle-down economics. The choice that our country has to make in the economy as we go forward is trickle-down economics versus middle-class economics. Trickle-down theories have not worked. They're what got us in trouble in 2008, and it's exactly what the Republicans are trying to take us back to. Today is one manifestation of that. Republicans are seeking to ransack our nation's investments in the future, our commitment to science, our commitment to our children's education, our commitment to bigger paychecks and better infrastructure for every American family. We need to come together in a bipartisan way, and that is very possible. We did it with the Competes Act before. To pay for R&D tax credit extension, we need to reject this Republican assault on science that will happen later today. We need to invest in the future of innovation of our country, of hardworking American families. We need to reject failed trickle-down economic theories and accept that the success of our nation depends on bigger paychecks for America's working families. R&D tax credits made permanent and modernized are a significant part of that. But they are not a part of it if they take us deeper into debt, preventing us from making the investments in the future. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the fiscally irresponsible R&D bill and no on their destructive Competes Act, and yes on the proposal made by Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, and I thank her for her great leadership for keeping America number one. I yield back the balance of my time.